one, have you got any tips of good podcasts that people could either listen to, or apart from Helen's Eckhart Tolle, that would be helpful in beginning to start a practice of mindfulness, to try and, start trying to kind of build that into your week or your day, however.
Yeah, I think um, I think practicing the technique is key. And I've played around with a few apps, and I only like to sort of talk about apps that I've had a good go at myself and put some time into. So there are lots and lots of meditation apps out there, and different people find different ones helpful. I'm not paid by any of them, but I've tried a few. Headspace is the one I first came across. I came across it during the pandemic. It was free to people who are working within the NHS. And obviously, the pandemic was an interesting time for everybody, interesting being a placeholder word. And so I started using Headspace then. I think that has some merits. I've had a go with Waking Up, which is an app. I think it's a very interesting app. I think there's some real benefits to it. I think perhaps when starting out, unfortunately, Sam Harris, who's the main voice on the app, he perhaps suffers from knowing an awful lot about the topic, but then struggling to translate it back for somebody who's actually starting out with the practice. So the app I think I'm most positive on, I suppose, at the moment is called Fit Mind, which is FITMIND. You can get that on the App Store, I think, both on Apple and Android. And I like it for a few reasons. One is I think the education on there is very clear. The introductory course, you're only meditating for about 10 minutes or so each day, so I think that's very reasonable. The cost of the app is £50 for a year, which is very reasonable compared to some of the other apps. But if that's not affordable as well, there is the option of emailing the people who created the app, and they will give access for free, which I think is very classy as well. So I like the fact that it's accessible to everybody. There's no prohibitive cost involved. I think the education is good. And I think, to be honest, the Eckhart Tolle book is good, and there are some other very good books on mindfulness. There's one by Thich Nhat Hanh, which is quite an interesting read. But for example, but I think the key is to actually start practicing and start learning the technique. And it's hard to start with, just like anything. Riding a bike initially seems impossible when you first start trying. But if you have the option of getting out there on the bike and start trying pedaling versus understanding the physics of how a bike moves and really getting into the theory, I think it's the practice that's going to win out every time in terms of developing the skill, because it's a skill. So I would say practice. I'd say get an app. And the one I'm the biggest fan of at the moment, although there's lots of good ones out there, is Fit Mind.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you very much.